Have you ever seriously looked at beauty school and wondered, what's this really going to cost me? Well, you might be in for a shock because the tuition you see on the brochure, that is just the beginning. In this explainer, we're going to peel back all the layers and break down the hidden costs so you can go in with your eyes wide open.
So yeah, what is the true price tag to become a beauty pro? From the moment you enroll to the day you see your very first paying client, what are we actually talking about here? Okay, let's get into it.
And here's the thing you absolutely need to know up front. That tuition fee is just the tip of a very, very big iceberg. The real, substantial costs are hiding just below the surface, but don't you worry, we are about to dive deep and show you everything. First things first, let's tackle tuition. You know, it's the big number everyone focuses on, but honestly, it can be a really misleading place to start your budget. Now, to make this super clear, we're going to follow two different people. First, we've got our economy baseline student. They're being really scrappy on a tight budget. Then we have our premium realistic student, who's maybe changing careers and has a few more life expenses to juggle.
And wow, right out of the gate, you see a huge difference. For a typical 1,500-hour cosmetology program, our economy student might find a public school for around $3,500. But our career changer at a private academy, they could be looking at $25,000 or more. That is a massive gap. And folks, we're just getting warmed up.
Okay, now let's talk about what is very often the single biggest expense of going to beauty school. And it's one that almost never ever shows up on a financial aid worksheet. We're talking about the cost of your time.
The official term for this is opportunity cost. And here's the deal. Beauty school isn't measured in credits like a normal college. It's measured in clock hours. That means you physically have to be there on the clock, which makes holding down a full-time job pretty much impossible. And all that income you're not earning, that is a very, very real cost. So how in the world do we calculate this? Well, it's not just your required class time, or C. You've also got to add in all those hours you spend studying and practicing, which we'll call S. Then you take that total number of hours and multiply it by W, which is whatever your hourly wage was before you started school. Let's see how this plays out with our two students.
Okay, prepare for some sticker shock. For our economy baseline student, who's walking away from a $15 an hour job, the opportunity cost is over $29,000. You heard that right. The lost income alone is more expensive than the tuition at a fancy private school. That's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
And what about our premium realistic student, the one leaving a $35 an hour job to follow their passion? The opportunity cost explodes to over $68,000. This right here is the biggest hidden cost, and it's the one that can absolutely wreck your budget if you're not ready for it.
All right, so we've got tuition and lost income covered. But what about just living? Let's talk about what we're calling the life support costs. These are the everyday expenses that you still have to pay just to keep the lights on while you're in school.
First up, just getting to class. A bus pass might run our economy student about $1,200 a year. Not too bad. But if you have to own a car, when you add up the insurance, the gas, maintenance, and the car payment itself, you're suddenly looking at around $12,000 a year, a huge jump.
And now for the big one, childcare. If you've got family who can help out, maybe you're spending around $5,000. But if you need full-time care like a nanny, that could cost as much as $45,000 a year. For a lot of people, that's more than tuition and lost income combined. It's a game changer.
So you did it. You tossed your cap in the air, you graduated. Amazing. But hold on a second, the spending isn't quite over. Now you've got to get licensed and actually launch your career.
Yeah, turning that diploma into a real paycheck takes a few more critical steps. You have to pass that state board exam, you absolutely have to get insured, and then you've got to start building a brand so clients can find you.
So here's a quick look at what those startup costs look like. You've got your licensing and exam fees, which can get up to $500 or more, especially if you have to retake a test. Liability insurance is a non-negotiable every single year. And in today's world, you need a professional portfolio and a basic website with booking software. That's just the cost of doing business.
Okay, take a deep breath. We've unpacked all the hidden costs. We've looked at tuition, lost income, those life support costs, and the startup fees. Now, it's time to add it all up and see the final tally. And here it is, the grand total. For our economy baseline student, the total one-year investment is just shy of $41,000. But for our premium realistic student, it's an absolutely staggering $155,000.
Just let that number sink in for a second. Over $155,000. This isn't just a certificate anymore. This is a serious financial investment, right up there with getting a graduate degree. And knowing this number before you start is absolutely crucial.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? This quote from the research says it perfectly. You have to finish, and you have to finish on time. Every single delay, every extra month, just piles on more lost income and more living expenses, which makes it that much harder to get a good return on your investment.
The goal here is not to discourage you, it's to empower you. The true cost of beauty school is a serious investment, for sure, but the payoff can be absolutely incredible. So the real question becomes, now that you can see the whole picture, how are you going to build a solid financial plan to make your dream happen?